is the foundation of any relationship, and according to my next guest, that principle is of particular importance when dealing with coworkers. In fact, in their new book, Trust and Betrayal in the Workplace, corporate consultants Dennis and Michelle Reina argue that the issue of trust can even impact a company's ability to thrive in this ever-changing economy. Now, joining me now to discuss their views are the co-authors, Dennis and Michelle Reina. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
It's a pleasure.
You know, in this kind of a work climate where we have so many startup companies and so many large corporations losing their employees, trust is very important, isn't it?
Absolutely. Given the amount of changes that have happened over the last 2 decades, the restructurings, the downsizing, the mergers, the acquisitions, even the growth, trust is at an all-time low.
Now, what struck me about your book is that it is so heavily based on research that you have done with real companies. This is not just your thoughts on trust. This is real facts. Michelle, tell us a little bit about your conclusions.
Absolutely. Well, we've conducted research in 67 different organizations over a 4-year period of time, and the primary purpose of our research was to help us really understand what trust meant. What we learned is that everybody really does want to have trust in their workplace relationships. However, the challenge is trust means different things to different people. It is a highly complex topic, and it is emotionally provocative. So through our research, we were able to identify 3 specific types of trust, specific behaviors that build trust, specific behaviors that break trust, and steps to rebuild it.
Give us an example of something that builds trust. That's very important to do in your organization.
A leader sharing their expectations, making the implicit explicit.
Which means?
Well, making sure that people understand what's expected of them before they run up against a wall. Many times in organizations, employees find themselves finding out what they need to do after they've made a mistake.
Right. Training by mistakes instead of by positive.
Another big aspect is just really sharing information, telling the truth, because so much is going on. People often don't quite understand what is going on and why what is going on, and they feel at times as though leaders are not necessarily giving them the straight scoop, so to speak, that the truth is being spun in some way, shape, or form, and people are very sensitive to that. So the sharing information and just letting people really know what is going on and what they can expect and what they can't expect goes a long way to building trust.
You talk about competence trust. What is that?
Competence trust, we're talking about behaviors such as acknowledge and respecting people's individual skills and abilities rather than micromanaging them. Talking about including people in the decisions that affect their jobs and their lives, as well as helping them learn new skills.
As you went through many American industries, what did you learn? Was there a common theme depending on the sector that you were looking at, or were they all different? Do they have all different ways of instilling trust in their workers? Is it the same on the assembly line as it is in the startup.com?
Well, what we found is that there are common themes. As a matter of fact, how we define trust is that it's reciprocal in nature, that you've got to actually give it to get it. It's built incrementally over time, and therefore we call that transactional trust. And there's actually 3 different types of transactional trust. There's contractual trust. We call that the trust of character, the keeping of agreements, the managing of expectations. There's also communication trust, trust of disclosure, sharing information.
So if your boss is talking to you, you actually believe him. You're not just thinking it's part of the company jargon.
We believe him, and we also feel as though it's safe for us to ask questions and to really let him or her know how we feel, what our thoughts and concerns are, that it's safe for us to really bring ourselves fully to our workplace.
You know, I asked you for an example of a good trust-building exercise. What's something that they can do that would damage trust beyond all belief? I'm sure that you have many examples, but what's a very glaring thing that people do commonly?
I'll tell you, through our research, what we found is the most pervasive form of betrayal that breaks trust every day on the job is gossip. Gossip and backbiting, people not speaking with good purpose, really in constructive ways, sharing what their views or concerns are, but instead doing it under the table or behind people's backs in a very covert way really goes a long way to breaking trust, as well as withholding information, not fully disclosing what it is that we know or what it is that we are working on are very common aspects of day-to-day occurrences that people experience that break trust.
Words to think about. Thanks very much for joining us today. Dennis and Michelle Reina, thanks a lot. Trust and Betrayal in the Workplace is the book.